Hey rock stars, this is your host Alana G. Welcome to the Uncapped Potential podcast. If you are a ready rebel, an entrepreneur, then this podcast is for you. It is time to tap into your uncapped potential. All right, welcome rock stars to the Uncapped Potential with your host Alana G. We are talking about the wormhole, not the butthole, very similar, but it is the wormhole. We've been laughing around the wormhole here in the podcast team crew because we were relating it to buttholes. It's that really tight, constrained part of the journey of growth, but out the other side, you always got this expansion, this joy, this feeling of liberation because you've freed yourself once again from some sort of constraints that were within. There's a thing called a wormhole, and it looks like this. It goes really skinny, so super skinny bit to this expansion bit. So it's kind of how I see all my levels of growth. When you are growing and you're working on yourself, when you're building a business, when you're being a conscious entrepreneur, there is going to be a level of discomfort that comes with moving from one level of consciousness to another level of consciousness. It happens over and over on the journey. It's how you respond to that part, that piece that will help you either enjoy it or you'll resist it and fight it and then find yourself retracting versus expanding. So you'll know that you're in a wormhole because it feels very tight and restrictive and scary, and all your shit comes to the surface. It's very, very fun. But it becomes fun because it is definitely, an opportunity to look within to see what's coming up. But whenever you go into something that's, new, expansive, there is going to be a level of discomfort. Like doing the podcast, it felt when I first started, I was contracting in my body, in my physical form. I was contracting in my mind. There were levels of fear and doubts and thoughts that were coming up. And this is you in the wormhole. That's what it feels like. What will happen after some of those moments is you'll find in the next couple of days, you can go into this really uncomfortable place where each day you're like worried or in fear or feeling super uncomfortable because you've made this bold, courageous step, right? You've taken a bold leap to be in another vibration, another version, another reality from the one that you're in. So there's got to be a process between you where you're at to where you want to be. And by taking that bold, courageous action to be in the embodiment of where you want to be, what happens in between, it's like got to level out. And so you come into this space of like your old self is like, fuck that. Like, what are you doing to me? Like, I'm not ready for this. The physical form can respond in certain ways, and the emotional and the spiritual can also respond in different ways. And it's just being aware of that. That's just the uncomfortable. That's just the wormhole. That's the little icky bicky, tiny little space of you growing to the next level of your consciousness. I feel it sometimes in my brain. I feel like my brain's like going, rah, fuck. And then poof, it comes out and I'm like, it's a whole new world out here. Like, wow, look at this. And things start responding to this new level of consciousness that I've grown into, because it's a growth period. It's a growth part of being part of the growth cycle, right? You come out of a vagina to be born. Like, there we go. That's another version of a wormhole. Like, you come from growing from here into growing into life. It's a wormhole. You come through something that's tight and you feel like, what the fuck's going on? I don't know, because I can't remember my birth story that much, but I'm sure it's the same thing. It's like, what's going on? And then you come out and you're in this new reality. That's what the wormhole is. And that's part of the entrepreneur journey. So I'm going to share a personal wormhole experience. It's actually been a very somewhat traumatic experience, but now that I'm at the other side, it does, I get to reflect back and be super grateful for it, because you can learn so much about yourself in those wormholes when the hard, the sticky, the uncomfortable comes up, and it's like, what is this? Like, why is it here? And a lot of the time in my past, I would gaslight myself, or I would spiritually bypass that whole experience, resist it, distract myself, not really embrace it as an opportunity to see what's in it. So I've just come through that. And for me, it was really learning this empowerment piece of not needing anyone outside of me to tell me what to do, but for me to just choose that for myself, to be in the uncomfortable experience, to not just distract myself, to not leave myself, abandon myself essentially, but to be with it and be like, okay, this is just an uncomfortable part of the journey, and to know that it will not always last. And the things that I could do for me was the nourishment piece, making sure that I'm, fed well, drinking clean, high vibrational water, of course, going and being physically active and getting out, but also mostly it was the judgment on myself. So really being compassionate with myself for what my needs needed to be. And maybe they weren't to do all the healthy things. Maybe they were just for me to be compassionate with me being okay in the nothingness. And and also there was another really big piece to that, was like this, okay, boundary piece of expressing what I need and when I need it and how it's going to work for me personally and really allowing myself to be courageous enough to request that externally, but also request that of myself and do that for myself. So it's been really uncomfortable because I've not only been in the wormhole, I've also been filming for ads. I've been doing podcasts. I've been in a 90-day container. I've not let any of that drop. I have wanted to 100% many times. I've just had to work with myself to give myself space to be in the wormhole, but also to not blow my life up, to throw everything to pieces. And that's what I would used to do, is like be really self-destructive in those times. And let's be like, nah, giving it all up. It's like, no, because you've got to find your way through, but find your way through where you still honor yourself and you don't just spiritually bypass yourself or gaslight yourself. Those feelings are real. And I have so much compassion if you're feeling that and you're in that right now. Love you. You are amazing. It is normal. It's part of growth. And you just have to be with yourself. And this is the part of the journey that you look at the parts of you within that need the most love right now. What is it that's within that needs your attention right now? Because it's not going to be fixed externally. It's not going to be fixed outwardly. And probably anything that's coming from the outside probably could also trigger more of it. So you're better off just sitting with it for personally, figuring out which parts of you need to love on and keep moving. And then you'll find yourself on the other side. All of a sudden you like wake up and it's like, oh, I've got all this new knowledge. I know, I feel so much better in my body. I've created safety in my body. And now I'm on this another level of journey. And like, what else can I do now to make myself uncomfortable? What's the next step? You got to like celebrate those uncomfortable places because they're the ones that are getting you to the next part of your journey. So it's like, look back and be like, all right, well, that was fucking cool and shit, but whatever. It was fun because it allows me now to grow into this next version of me that now also wants more of it. Like, it's like, celebrate that. I want more of this uncomfortable. What's next? Where can I go to next? What's my new level of vibration that I'm going to, that I get to experience, the polarity before that. You've got to experience the good and the bad, and I don't feel any of it's bad. I think it's just polarity, but you got to feel both, right? And every time I witness someone and myself going to higher vibrations is when I see a polarity version of that vibration show up. And it's how I embrace that polarity version that will determine how quickly I get to the other side. So the wormhole is a repetitive cycle. It does actually happen a lot in your journey. Some are small, some are big. You don't really know what you're in for at each moment and each time. You get to navigate them with the same amount of energy of like, this is normal. This has to exist for the alternative of growth to exist. Sometimes it's as simple as like I'm talking in the digital space, right? So some people have such a wormhole experience around pressing send on a post and letting the world see a post that they've written, and they go through this like little mini wormhole. And then there's other big gigantic steps that you're going to make in business, and as you make more money and more wealth, you're going to invest probably more wealth and more money because you want to make impact, or you're going to gift something, or go on a massive trip, or buy a house. These are like bigger levels of growth, and some people that would be really comfortable, and for others it won't be, and it's just part of your body and your physical form up leveling to the new embodiment of vibration that you're choosing, the new version that you're going to by taking the steps in the now. So you have to go through there. You have to go through the wormhole. It's part of the experience. Sometimes they're going to be short. Sometimes they may be a bit longer. I don't have the answers of how and why, but it is so worth it, because I would more rather work on my uncomfortability towards something than just sit in uncomfortability in the reality that I'm not comfortable in anyway. From my latest wormhole, which was like a depression, or it wasn't like a depression, it was depression. What I found in that was, when I wasn't in my own community that understand the work that I'm doing and we're doing as a community as a whole in growth and expansion, and the risks that that we take, and that I would find words that weren't as useful. But when I was within people that understand the journey, we like that love that comes towards you, but also the inquiry of like, okay, Alana, if this is where you're at and this is coming up for you, is there something else here that you haven't addressed yet? And it was where I was in my life, what I wasn't doing for myself, that my soul really wanted me to do, like the path that my soul actually wants me to be and do. And that's like the more adventurous and the freedom. And so I kind of, I had to have a little mini steer of my direction, because it wasn't just the uncomfortability of being seen and speaking out loud. It was like I all of a sudden had this darkness come through for a reason. And I feel a lot of it came back to like, are you where you're at, like where you want to be at? Like, are you actually in alignment? And so, I got to shift and change. Some of it is big like that. Some of it is just small, uncomfortable fucking wormholes, okay, that are going to lead to joy. And that's just because you haven't delayered the conditioning or your fears or your limiting beliefs and so forth. Some of it will be big life changes, and they're the big ones. And I had that when I got COVID. After COVID, it was a huge, big life change I needed to make. I was well deep in that one as well. But the other little ones along the journey are just layers that get to shed. They're parts of you that need to die, the old version of you that needs to die so the new Phoenix version of you can rise. So if you're going to ignore and run away from the butthole, the wormhole, just want to throw that. Are you still listening? It's really important to know that if you don't delayer or undress the things that need to be addressed in that particular wormhole, it may show up again. So if it's fear of judgment, if you don't delayer your fear of judgment in the initial wormhole, and this was one of my first ones, I talk about this in a lot of my podcasts. Fear of judgment was my biggest one for me, my resistance. I was afraid of what other people would think. I was afraid of leaving another business to create an affiliate marketing business. I was already known to be part of other communities. I was leaving, them. I felt like I was going to be shunned upon and shamed upon, and all of these things that I didn't really want to face with myself. But what I experienced by not taking action was I also did nothing, and I achieved nothing, and I sat in uncomfortability anyway. I just didn't grow. But when I chose to break free of that fear and release that judgment was when all of a sudden I started to flourish. Yes, it felt uncomfortable. Yes, I was committed to myself to address that and to delayer that and to move towards where I was going. So I had to sit in uncomfortability of action to create the new embodiment of myself. And the new embodiment of myself is this fully fledged, freedom, fully express like version of me. And that's just been developed over time. And other areas of that get to flower throughout the journey. So I've learned to like be totally okay with nudity that I normally would never have been okay with, just in like nudity or dressing up, or, you know, there's parts of all sorts of different things that I've learned to be comfortable with. Being in podcasts, being, you know, in front of cameras, being on stages, all of that, I had to let go of certain things to get there. But before you get there, sometimes there's a wormhole, or what happens, it can happen after you get there because your body's updating and upgrading, and it's just like a freak out moment, but it's normal. And if you're in one of those, just remember it's normal. And if you're resisting ever feeling that, trust me, you're going to feel that either short term for a period of time where you'll grow into a better version of yourself, or you'll feel that for a really long time, just over a long time of your life, right? You get to hold that with you for life. So it's choosing whether you're going to go for the ride or not. And the ride always is up and down, and it's fun. It's like a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster. The entrepreneur journey, it's a roller coaster. But who do you want to be beside on that journey? Who do you want to support you? Who's going to make it fun? Who's going to shower you with like, woo, you're doing it. You're getting through the next level. Woohoo. Like, that's so exciting. To celebrate those parts with you, and also ask you the right questions. Like, I'm so grateful for my team. They came to me and actually supported me by asking me really freaking powerful questions. And if you don't have a team, you get to ask those questions to yourself. Like, what's here? What do I need to love? Like, ask yourself some high quality questions to get some high quality answers that are going to support you to break through that next version. So if you're currently in a wormhole, or you've just come out of a wormhole, or you're facing some level of like desire to expand and to go on that ride, you know, reach out to me. Find me on my Instagram. It's Alana G _ the Uncapped Potential, or find me on the Uncapped Potential page on Facebook, and come and chat to me, and I'll ask you those questions for you. I'm happy to support you to see where you want to go. Like, you are uncapped potential. You can literally go to multiple different frequencies and vibrations in this lifetime. You can live multiple lives and experience multiple different experiences in this one life. Like, this is the one that we're remembering, the one that we're in. We might as well make it worthwhile. You might as well crack through all these unseen things that don't really exist, but they do on a vibrational level, and you just get to fucking say goodbye to them. So if you're looking for like going into more consciousness around wealth, around leadership, around community, around doing business and life in a more authentic, aligned version way, then this is like the time for you to come and be in my space and ask me these let me ask you the questions. Let me inquire within you, like where are you desiring to go, and let's take your soul to where it wants to be. Let's take your soul let's take your mind, your consciousness from where it is to where it wants to be. So yeah, it only happens through, you know, action in multiple ways and being in multiple ways. But action is the thing that cracks through whatever's holding you back. It's the one that will put you into the vortex to be able to experience the next level, which maybe will put you in a wormhole, yes, but you get to do that from a place of excitement and joy for the wormhole, for the expansion. So if you're ready for that, reach out, get in touch. And this is Alana G. If you liked my podcast, follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Give us a review. I'm on YouTube also, so share with your friends and peeps. And lots of love, Alana G.